Ole Miss is just a better job than Texas A&M right now.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast around. I am your host, Steven Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports and a former Ole Miss staff member. Today on the show, we talk about Chris Beard choosing to stay in Oxford rather than chasing money at Texas A&M. By doing so, he is set to become one of the highest paid coaches in college basketball while significantly increasing the NIL allotment for his roster construction. All of that is great news for Ole Miss basketball fans. But the real takeaway, Chris Beard's still in Oxford because Ole Miss is simply a better job than Texas A&M right now. And they just proved it. Remember, we're free and available on all the podcast apps and YouTube. Special thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. And a special hello to our insiders and everydayers who make this show what it is. And don't forget to check out a second listen on the network. Chris Gordy at Locked On SEC or Corey Burton at Vandy. Locked On Vandy offer even more perspectives on college football, the SEC, and yes, even Ole Miss. This episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from. Need one now? Grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. Stock up today and stay energized. And Ole Miss is just a better job than Texas A&M right now. Texas A&M, other than having a ton of money, they have a ridiculous amount of money. They have shown the inability to win consistently, which means they're not pulling the rope in the same directions. They all have their own interest in trying to get their way so much. It is very much a booster feast at Texas A&M. And because of that, it doesn't matter who is steering the ship, whether it be Ross Bjork or Trev Alberts or whoever's in the athletic director chair. Texas A&M is going to be a very difficult job because of all of that money. They tried to hire Chris Beard last week or this week, and they put the offer out to him, and they said it was supposed to be somewhere north of $7 million a year is what they were offering at Chris Beard, but they couldn't quite come up with a direct NIL number other than the fact to say that, hey, whatever you need, you'll have. But they wouldn't iron it down. And Ole Miss came into this situation. I forget which site reported this. I'm not doing anything like specific, but somebody reported it, that Ole Miss came to the Chris Beard and said, hey, we'll pay you this amount of much money and this much NIL and this much staff improvement, and we'll do this right now. And Chris Beard's like, yep, sign me up. We'll do that immediately. And do you know why that is? Because Ole Miss is an efficiently run organization for, I don't know, the first time in years. Listen, let's just be real for a second. Because right now, Ole Miss is a better job than Texas A&M. One of the richest schools in the country, Ole Miss is absolutely a better job, and especially basketball-wise, when Texas A&M doesn't really care about basketball. Ole Miss, after the Johnny Vaught era, went through their 40 years in the wilderness. The 70s and the 80s were terrible, absolutely garbage. All of the blue blood status that Johnny Vaught had earned while he was there, Ole Miss completely threw away trying to keep up and relive 1964 or something like that. Ole Miss was not an effectively run program. They played home games in Jackson, Mississippi, which means they were missing out on home revenue in Oxford. They didn't start playing full-time at home until the 90s. The people that ran Ole Miss athletics, they were lacking for years, and they put Ole Miss behind the eight ball, whether it be from doing things like that to kind of relive and relitigate the Johnny Vaught years by adding Johnny Vaught players as coaches. It's kind of the same thing that Alabama did with Bear Bryant people. But they also did it by being very exclusionary in the fan base. And it's one of the reasons that the Ole Miss fan base is one of the smallest in the SEC, is that they spent 40 years being very exclusionary. And that's, I get it. It's fine. Okay. One of their sayings is we're not up at Ole Miss, what is it? We're better than you or something like that. Or it's part of that whole mentality of what was going on. But to Ole Miss's credit, they dug out of that hole. And now with Keith Carter and Glenn Boyce and everybody in leadership positions, everybody is pulling the rope in the same direction for the first time in their history. And Ole Miss and Mississippi, they're not rich enough areas to where you can survive whenever you're pulling the rope in opposite directions. As long as Ole Miss is pulling the rope in the same direction, their athletic departments are going to be fine. They've got a national championship in basketball, a Sweet 16 in basketball, a national championship in baseball, and they were right on the doorstep of the college football playoff. In the Big Three, they were where they want to be. Coach O took the ladies' team to the Sweet 16 as well. The athletic department is in a golden era right now for Ole Miss sports. They have done things that Texas A&M, honestly, can't really dream of. They got close. They almost made the Sweet 16. They almost won a baseball national championship. They almost won 9 games. Texas A&M at this point is the definition of mid in the Southeastern Conference. And you know what? It shouldn't be. When you look at what they have money-wise and resources-wise and all of that stuff, that is supposed to be important. Whoever sits in that seat at Texas A&M, whether it be basketball, football, or whoever, doesn't win the big game. They do not meet expectations. And when they do, it's a surprise. Ole Miss right now, 3 out of the 4 seasons in football, 10 wins. 2022 national championship in baseball, Sweet 16 this year in basketball, and Texas A&M, which supposedly, I think I saw a tweet the other day that said Ole Miss has money of like NFL Hall of Fame quarterback money. Well, Texas A&M has owned the team money. Well, it turns out that team is the Jacksonville Jaguars. So understand that the better job probably in football, basketball, and baseball resides at the University of Mississippi. And all of these Texas A&M fans are going to deride Mississippi in very negative light, whether that be Ole Miss or Mississippi State. They have trouble with those schools. Why? It's just not a very good job. And now that Texas has come in, you've got Texas A&M's natural predator being released on the Aggies. It's probably only going to get worse. They've already took Schlossnagle, the baseball coach that almost got to where they wanted to be in the national championship series, ended up losing that series. Now Texas A&M's at the bottom of SEC baseball. It's a problem. Ole Miss right now, across the board, is a better job than Texas A&M. And that's the reason, in the end, Chris Beard did not leave. Once Ole Miss stepped up and did what Chris Beard wanted to be done, it was all over. It could be argued, it literally could be argued, that this was 100% a leverage play. It could be argued that he had no intention of ever taking the Texas A&M job. He just saw an opportunity to raise everything up just a little bit more going in the transfer portal window for the 2026 season. Interesting stuff, but Ole Miss made the Sweet 16 in year 2. What will they do in year 3? There's a lot of transfer portal targets that we are going to be paying attention to over the next couple of weeks. Listen, Ole Miss just hosted an elite top 100 wide receiver. He's joining Ryder Lyons on campus. Who is this big-time talent? We will reveal it next. You know, life moves fast, especially when you have a family. One day you're watching your kids take their first steps, and before you know it, they're off to college. That's why securing their future is so important. Fabric by Gerber Life makes it simple to get term life insurance that fits your family's needs. With Fabric, you can apply for term life insurance online right from your couch. You could be covered in as little as 10 minutes, and in many cases, no health exam is required. As a parent, I want to make sure that my family is financially protected no matter what happens. Fabric gives me the peace of mind to do that. You can get $1 million in coverage for less than $1 a day. That's a pretty good deal. So protecting your loved one does not have to break the bank. Join thousands of parents who trust Fabric to protect their families. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. That's meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. Policies are issued by Western Southern Life Insurance Company, not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions. You know, baseball season is in full swing, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with PrizePicks, the best place for daily fantasy football or sports. With PrizePicks, you pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs, PrizePick keeps every game exciting. This week, I'm picking Aaron Judge for more than 1 home run and Shohei Ohtani for more than 1 stolen base. Yes, it's that easy. Setting up a lineup takes less than 60 seconds, and when you win, your payout is quick, safe, and secure. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, to get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. So everybody, we did the show yesterday on Ryder Lyons visiting Ole Miss and what that could mean, and could Ole Miss sign 2 elite quarterbacks, which is possible. If Ole Miss gets the official visit, it's kind of a 50-50 proposition that he ends there, because if you want to look at Ryder Lyons, the best fit for him and the best opportunity for him to become an elite quarterback is likely at the University of Mississippi, Ole Miss, and I think Ryder Lyons knows that, but it's going to be an NIL play in the end on this guy, and I think BYU's, they're going to be coming for Bear, essentially. So we'll see exactly how that goes. But when you have an elite 5-star quarterback on campus that has so many toys and everything going on, you probably should have a throw-in mate on there with him, and Jace Matthews from Greene County visited as well. And Jace Matthews is a wide receiver that kind of falls between the cracks in the state of Mississippi, behind Tristan Keys and Xavier McDonald. And I'm not saying he's worse than either one of them. It's just, for whatever reason, Jace Matthews doesn't get mentioned at the same level that the others guys do. And it doesn't make sense, because if you look at his highlights, this is a guy that makes unbelievably athletic catches. He works the middle of the field. He is somebody that can break away from defenders. Now, granted, these are games against Poplarville and those level high schools in South Mississippi. But Greene County and everything, they find a way to use him pretty well and to use his skill set. There's a play on his highlight video. He's just running a simple, like 5 to 7 yard crossing pattern. Defender hits him after he catches the ball, but doesn't knock him down. He keeps his balance, goes on down the field, and takes it in for a touchdown. It's one of the more impressive highlight plays I've seen. But there's other stuff. There's Odell Beckham Jr.-like catches. There's just genuine wide receiver catches that are on every one of these splash reels. Jace Matthews is a guy that has a chance to be really good at the next level, just like Xavier McDonald, just like Tristan Keys. And when you think about the quarterbacks that Ole Miss is in on, whether it be Landon Duckworth, Ryder Lyons, either one of those, you realize how healthy the Ole Miss program is right now. How Lane Kiffin has this Ole Miss football program at a better level that it's been at since, 1963? Since they were winning SEC titles? That was probably the last time. He is basically a playoff berth away from starting to be mentioned in that category, to where if longevity comes out and he ends up being at Ole Miss 10, 15 more years, it could be a statue that's built to him outside of the stadium. 3 out of the last 4-year 10-win seasons, it's pretty heady stuff, especially when you consider how rare it has been that those have happened in Ole Miss's history. Now, I do realize that in the 60s and 50s and all that, they couldn't win 10 games. They didn't play enough of them. But As it sits now, they're doing exactly what needs to be done. He needs to win something. If he can win something and pull that off, he could go down in history as the GOAT. That's what he has to do. That's all he has to do. But he needs to start winning stuff, because we're at the point in Ole Miss fandom to where whoever wins this next title is going to go down in history and is going to be revered and talked about in a way that Jake Gibbs is, if we're going to be honest. Because of how long it's been for Ole Miss since the last time they've won a title. Because of that, this one will hold extra meaning for the team and for Lane Kiffin if he is the coach whenever that happens. Last year, I am dead serious, they had the best team in the SEC. Talent-wise, they should have 12-0'd it last season. They didn't. They should have. I have many theories on why that happened, okay? One of the main ones is Ole Miss has to learn how to play like a favorite. They don't need to play every game like they're an underdog. Whenever you can play the slot machine in the course of the game, and if you lose, you lose. If you win, all of a sudden you can make big plays. That's the way they can gain possessions if this was the 2021 Ole Miss Rebels and they were playing against Alabama. But the 2024 Ole Miss Rebels playing against Kentucky probably shouldn't be going for it inside the 15-yard line. Kick the field goal. This is an offense that completely struggles. Play like a favorite, like you expect to do it, instead of allowing vast momentum shifts. This analytical football that we always talk about and we hate, we absolutely despise it. Completely disregards momentum in football. Treats it as a non-factor. To them, fourth down is just another down, but that's not the case. And we saw that at least twice this year. Against LSU, going for it from the 1-yard line instead of kicking a field goal in a game that you are dominating, absolutely dominating that game, giving them the momentum burst that they needed, eventually figuring out what was going on, and on the last play of the game, LSU beat you. Against Florida in the swamp, a notoriously tough place to play, Ole Miss goes for it inside the 15-yard line, gets stuffed, Florida gets the momentum, scores a touchdown, ends up winning the game. Momentum shifts hurt Ole Miss as much as anything in 2024. And because of that, we are very much anti-analytics at this moment, because we do actually believe that momentum is a thing. And momentum needs to be contained. It's like a fire. If you let the momentum just burn, it will warm your whole house. If you let it get out of control, if you're reckless with it, it will burn your house down. Ole Miss has a chance to do some very special stuff. But in order to do that, they need to take that next step. And that next step to me is learning how to play as a favorite. We'll see exactly how that goes as well. In our final segment, I can't have my surgery break without praising 12 personnel one time before I go on my break. And Dan Quan Wright, at practice, he just gave us a clue of what might be something pretty big. So stay tuned for that. Daylight savings time snuck up on us again. And if you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, 5-Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through. Whether you're staying up late watching the NCAA tournament, squeezing in a round of golf after work, or just trying to keep up with your busy day, 5-Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. With longer days, I love getting outside for a walk. Tropical Burst is my go-to for a quick boost. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and peach mango. You can even build your own 12 or 24 pack and have it delivered right to your door. But if you need one now, grab a 5-Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They're literally everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
So we are a little under 2 weeks away from my surgery, about 10 days from my surgery. It's going to be a week from Wednesday, whenever I go under the knife. And I should be out I'm hoping I'm only out for about 3 weeks to a month. And during that time, we're going to have Brian Smith, the Florida football scout, doing shows Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on this channel. Boom. Perfect. And in the meantime, the Tuesdays and Thursday shows one of them is going to be me. I'm filming a show of why I hate all of the SEC opponents this year, talking about why I'm upset with them, reasons to get ticked off, the expectations of the game, stuff like that. Just kind of evergreen stories. The first weeks there's going to be 2, but after that there's going to be 1 a week. And the Locked On SEC hosts are willing to do a show about Ole Miss from their school's perspective that we're going to put on there, I think, on Tuesdays after that first week. So it's going to be really cool. And if you could do me a favor, watch it all. It won't be my ugly mug on camera, but please watch it all. It would do a ton to help us out. Bring other people in to watch it if you would as well. Subscribe on YouTube, subscribe wherever you get the podcast, and leave a review. All of that stuff, every bit of it, believe it or not, helps. And also, if you want to do a little bit more, there's a link down in the description for the Subtext community. Join that. It's $5 a month. I get every penny of it. But if you sign up, that's a way for you to do something extra and view it like a tip, essentially, if you enjoy this show. And like I said, whenever I come back, I'm hoping for mid-May is kind of my goal for coming back. But the real return back is I want to be 100% healthy by football season. And I should be at SEC Media Days this year. That's the goal, that I'll be nice and healthy and at SEC Media Days. So we'll see exactly how that goes as well. So in practice this week afterwards, they sent players to the podium, which they normally do. And Ole Miss has a pretty healthy PR machine, if we're just going to be honest about it. They only send players to the podium that talks about certain things. Lane Kiffin never says a thing. They are very much buttoned up in regard to the media. The SID does an excellent job of controlling the message at Ole Miss. But every now and then something slips. And it might be something that the players just aren't versed on. It might be something the SID doesn't view as important. It could be anything. But every now and then something falls through the cracks. And I think it was Tuesday, Daquan Wright took the podium, and he got a question. I think it was from Michael Katz. I couldn't tell, but I think it was from Michael Katz, friend of the program. And he asked about 12 personnel. Maybe it was Sam Hutchins. Either way, friend of the program. 12 personnel for the Ole Miss system. And anybody that watches this show knows that as soon as I hear that, my ears perk up, like a Labrador of like, what's going on? You talking my love language now? And Daquan Wright heard the questions like, hey, will you be running more 12 personnel this year? And Daquan lit up. And you could tell that it's like, oh, yeah, this is going to be something else. Luke Haas right now is getting a ton of reps at tight end as well. Him and Daquan Wright have a chance to be an extreme, almost weapon in the pass game. And when you add somebody like Caleb Odom on the outside with a Caden Lee or something like that, you have a potential of running 10, 11, 13, 12 personnel, all at tempo without substitutions because of the versatility of the players on there. We like to talk, and we did talk a couple of years ago, that was the big buzzword, positional versatility. And this football team is in position to be the most versatile team in the Lane Kiffin era, potentially in my memory at Ole Miss, to where tight ends are good enough to play wide receiver. Wide receivers can come down and be an extra body at tight end. All can help the run game. And you have a quarterback that is just like tailor-made to handle this situation exactly. 12 personnel feels like a good base formation for this Ole Miss offense. But if you do that, let's talk through this just for a second of what that means, what it really means. If you go 12 personnel in a game, that usually means that you're taking a slot receiver off the field. Now, specifically, you could take a number 2 off. So this could actually be affecting Harrison Wallace or Caleb Odom or somebody like that on the outside. And you just kind of move Caden Lee into that position and kind of use him as a Dayton Wade type receiver. But most of the time it affects the slot receiver. You would normally not see somebody like Caden Lee or Winston Watkins and a 2 tight end set. It's just the way that football works. So on the outside, you would have Deshaun Stribling, who I think is the number 1 wide receiver. And I'm going to pretty much consistently think he is all the way until the season starts. Harrison Wallace coming in, who is apparently looking very smooth on the football field. And Caleb Odom. And, those players and what they have. What do you want to do with that group of that position group, that group of players heading in this to make 12 personnel viable? That is the job that Lane Kiffin has. That is the job that Charlie Weiss has. That is the job that Joe Judge has of trying to figure out how to put this Rubik's Cube together of personnel inside a specific group. Because the important thing is, yes, you could just throw 12 personnel on the field, but if you really want to display the positional versatility and run plays in 10 personnel looks, 11 personnel looks, 12 personnel looks, 13 personnel looks at tempo, not allowing the defense to match up, you have to find the right players on the field at the same time. So it might be that you have Caden Lee that you can move by formation either in the slot or on the outside. Somebody like Deshaun Stribling. The other players like Caleb Odom or Harrison Wallace, they might fit in a different thing. But if you want to use the personnel and the versatility to get these different groups on the field at the same time, you have to be very meticulous in who you start out with. I assume it's Luke Haas and Daquan Wright are going to be out there. And I assume Caden Lee is going to be out there and Deshaun Stribling. I think that is the leader in the courthouse for the 12 personnel system of Ole Miss football. I mean, we'll see exactly how it goes. It should be fun. I love talking about personnel groupings in football. I just do. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves in offering the most comprehensive perspectives, which is why we're the number 1 Ole Miss podcast out there. Thank you for your support. Thanks for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On College Basketball with Isaac Shade and Andy Patton. April is here. Final Four is here. So be the most informed college basketball fan throughout the madness. Find Locked On College Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Hotty toddy, and remember, analytics is just the old English word that means bad football. We'll see you Monday.